Welcome to the What to Expect While Fostering and Adopting podcast show. If you're a foster mom, on the journey to adoption, already adopted, or somewhere in the middle, trying to figure out how to navigate the foster care system, wanting to grow your family through adoption, trying to balance everything, or stuck in that space of all things unknown, you're in the right place. What if there was a way to fast track your knowledge, prepare you for the good and the hard, and somebody who could answer that long list of questions I know you have? Hi friend, I'm Christine Marie, biblical mindset coach, adoptive mom, and previous foster parent of 77 children. Yep, you heard that right, 77 kiddos. I'm your host, and my goal is to help make your journey a lot easier by sharing my best tools, techniques, and skills that helped me pivot from foster care to adoption, fully surrender, and trust the process. I'm about to bring some calm to the chaos and show you how to navigate through this journey with a whole lot of grace. So go grab your cup of coffee and let's jump in. Hello. I'm so excited to bring another incredible episode to you today. Today we have a special guest, Rebecca Del Pozo. She is a mom and she was adopted herself and an adoptive mom. She's also a real estate agent, an author, and I'm super excited for you to hear her story, her testimonial, and how adoption has not only impacted her life, but also her family's life. So welcome to the show, Rebecca. I'm so excited to have you on today.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so if you just want to jump in, tell us a little bit more about your story, your journey, and what led you here.
Absolutely. So I was adopted at birth. And growing up for as long as I can remember, I knew I was adopted. My mom reminds me of a moment when I think I was 3.5, maybe 4 years old. And I said, I didn't come out of your tummy, but where did I come from?
Oh,
She was like driving and kind of shocked at this question that came from the back seat. And she said, well, we'll talk about that later. And my response was, you mean you don't know?
oh,
And
that's awesome.
so for as long as I can remember, I was told I was chosen. I was wanted and loved, and that my birth mom was not able to give me the care that I needed. And so mom and dad were chosen to love me. And so growing up, I really, anytime scripture, he knit me together in my mother's womb, and like different particular moments, I took it as like, I'm extra special.
Yes, I love that. That's awesome.
So I eventually did connect with my biological family when I was 18 and just wanted to say thank you. Really, thank you for choosing life for me. Thank you for loving me and for choosing this family. My biological mom, Jane, was loved on by these sweet Baptist women who took her in. She had traveled across the country to carry me and to give birth, and then traveled back across. And so I was so grateful for the opportunity to say thank you.
That's so amazing. So you were never in foster care. It was like a private adoption?
Yeah, it was
Okay.
private adoption. And then I have an adopted sister who was private adoption as well.
Okay. Wow, I love that because I feel like there's, and I've spoken to people who are adoptees as well, and they have so many questions and they almost have like an orphan spirit because they feel like they missed out or they were given away. But you took it completely opposite and you just have a heart of gratitude.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say there weren't moments of abandonment issues or
Right.
rejection or things that I had to learn to kind of work through and admit, right?
Right.
And my take on it, and I now having gone through what we have, like I'm grateful that was the spin
Right.
I took on it.
I love that. So do you believe a lot of that has to do with the way that your parents kind of unraveled it for you or shared your story? Or do you think it was just your heart posture? Or what do you think led to that?
It's a great question because my sister and I will constantly laugh and joke about it almost that, we were raised in the same home and yet we weren't. Her take on it was much different than mine. We were raised by the same parents, but were we really? Because I was older, their life circumstance was different when she came along. Their health and their scenario of like what they were kind of working through at the time of her upbringing, same parents, but you know what I mean? It's like emotionally and just circumstantially where they were at, her take on it was much different. So I do think it's a heart posture to some extent because our our stories are different.
Yeah, and so I love that, and I feel like that's a lot of the times the truth, right? Is that siblings might have so many like, we just see things differently because 'cause we're different people. So talk to me about your adoptive journey with your child.
Yeah, so then fast forward many, many years, and we were volunteering through an organization called Royal Family Kids Camp. I was the worship leader, upfront team, drama, skits, and all the entertaining.
Yeah.
and and so I did that for 3 years in a row, and every single year this one particular camper kept coming back. And this is a camp specifically for children in foster care. And so Trisha was there that 3rd year, and the bus arrived back at church, and all the foster parents came to pick up the kids, and there was no one there to get her.
Oh my goodness.
Through a series of events, it was it was really a sad situation that she had been dropped off and that there was gonna be a switch as to where she was gonna go next. And so at that point, I just remember feeling my heart just rip open. And I was like, because at the time, I was actually contemplating like if we were going to get pregnant again or like that. I felt like there was someone coming. I just didn't see it in this
Right.
particular way. And so found out that she was legally free. And they pretty much told me, don't call us back unless you're serious about permanent placement. We have no interest in fostering. And so that was a few really intense weeks of prayer and fasting and really just seeking to see like, okay, Lord, is this what we're supposed to do? And so we did. It was one of the fastest like home study, meeting, visits, and then she moved in
Wow.
within less than like I think 2.5, 3 months. Like it happened quickly.
Wow. So, what was her response? Like, I'm just curious. Like, what was her response when she found out? Because she knew you, right?
Yeah. And so she was 10 at the time and definitely ADHD, super hyper, and just was excited. I remember this one conversation she asked about this reoccurring dream she had of going to Hawaii and we ended up doing that with her. And I felt like there was this one oh, it's interesting. I haven't talked about this in a really long time. There was a picture of a plane ticket. I felt like the Lord said, "You'll be her ticket to things that are in her heart, and I'll use it to confirm things in her." And so fast forward, there were 2 trips to Hawaii that we were able to take, and there was just such a special experience, I think, for her to be there and for us to have that memory that we were able to share together. How funny, I haven't thought about that in a while. But that was, like, one of the things the Lord used to kind of encourage us in the journey of, like, this is what you're supposed to do.
Wow. And then how old was she at that time?
She was 10.
Okay. So, you were thinking maybe a baby, and God's saying, I have a 10-year-old.
Yeah, yeah, and the dynamics were definitely difficult. I had one younger, one older,
Mhm.
and at home, and then a lot of life happened after that in a very short amount of time. So, like, this whirlwind of, we're not gonna foster, we were willing to, they didn't want us to, like,
Right.
straight into adoption. My dad passed away suddenly. I went through an unexpected divorce. My husband moved out, and then the adoption was finalized, and all of a sudden, here I am, like, a single mom of 3,
Yeah.
trying to navigate and figure it all out. It was a lot.
Wow. I have so many thoughts racing through my head, like, did you feel abandoned, like, by God? Like, why would you give me this child? And then my entire life falls apart. Like, that's what I'm feeling, like, I feel grieved, and I can't imagine how you felt walking through that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I just it was so much, and our church family just surrounded us at that point. My family was nothing but supportive, but they were out of area. They weren't local. And
Right.
so just navigating all of that was a lot. And I was upset. I was like, I've just been taken for this crazy ride,
Yeah.
right? And so many unexpected things. And yet, looking back now, because that's been many, many years ago,
Right.
I can see just absolute favor and just provision in miraculous ways. Other people that were able to kind of come alongside, especially through Royal Family Kids Camp, because they understood these were kids that had special needs. Like these were
Right.
kids that, and it was like they don't have the physical signs of a disability, right? It's
Right.
more emotional and mental. And so there were a lot of counseling sessions and CBT workshops. And I mean, so many different group. And I just leaned into every possible support system that existed to try to figure out how we were going to navigate it all.
Well, it's interesting and I'm so glad you brought this up because I don't know if people who have not been foster parents before, or if there are people listening who want to adopt and from the foster care system, is every child who is a foster child is considered special needs.
Hmm.
And the reason for that is because they end up in foster care for a reason.
Right.
And I always called it an invisible disability
Hmm.
because you can have a child who has, like, looks perfect on the outside. And, it brings me back to our oldest daughter now, which we adopted second last. And she had over 100 or I think they shut it down at 100 applications within 30 days to adopt her. Blonde hair, blue eyes, cute as a button, not even 4 years old, just like literal adoption. And I took her photos and they were perfect, right?
Hmm.
Nobody, like, everybody just saw the picture
Right.
and then they read the bio. And of course, it's perfection in the bio, right? Because they want these children to be adopted and all these, but you had like a back behind the scenes look because you were working at Royal Family Kids Camp, that these kids are hurting, they are aching. And so a lot of people will see that they look perfect, but nobody's perfect. None of us. And so I love that you brought that up just as a point of like education because just because everything seems fine, they wouldn't be in foster care if everything was fine. Like foster care is the end of the road.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And looking back, I just had this Pollyanna thinking or dreaming of like, oh, well, she's going to be so grateful and so appreciative and have just this attitude of gratitude like I did, right? And it's just going to be this magical, story. And that just wasn't the reality. The reality of any child, whether they're adopted, fostered, or your biological, is that when they feel the safest, what happens?
Fall apart and
They show you the worst.
yes.
And so it was it was brutal. I mean, I messed up. There were so many times looking back now where I'm just like, "Lord, thank you for grace and just for your mercy and covering me. I screwed that one up." Or,
Yeah.
I think of some of the decisions I made and I'm like, "Oh, what in the world was I thinking?"
And I feel like that's where you and I connected because it's just like we walked into this journey like we're going to love them and they're going to be better and life is amazing and when people, and I'm sure you've had this say to you, people say this to you, is like, "Oh my gosh, it's so great. Like you're such a good person." And I'm
Oh,
like,
If you only knew.
You have no idea how many times I have blown up situations, wrecked this, like gone to bed with nothing left, like felt like the worst mom in the entire world. And you're sitting here telling me I'm such a good person. It's like I wish people didn't say that because
I do too. I do too, because I feel like it almost like made me feel like a hypocrite, right? And as I'm navigating, like one of the thoughts that's coming to memory is I remember this one morning, it was everything just to get the kids up and out of the house for school. I dropped them off. I came back home and I literally just like sucked carpet. I was on like face down on the ground, and I put the song, God, I Look to You, I Won't Be Overwhelmed by Bethel on blast. And I was like, my neighbors are probably going to think I'm crazy, but I just turned it up as loud as I could. And I just laid there on the ground and just lost it. And
yeah.
I'm like, I'm giving this to you. Like, you got to show me what to do because I am such a wreck.
There were so many days that I would go drop off all the kids at school and I would come home and I would sleep the entire time they were at school. Like I didn't take a shower. I just crawled in bed, went to sleep, and it was all I could do to sustain myself.
Mhm.
And then I was still exhausted.
Yeah.
Like I would go pick them up and they deserved a cheerful mom who was like, "Let's do arts and crafts or bake or something." And I was just surviving because it was just so hard.
Yeah, I mean, as a trying to figure it out on my own, they were absolutely getting my leftovers, and I remember just I'd show up for work and, would put the face on for everything that I needed to do entrepreneurially, and I'm working another job, and I'm like, I'm just juggling all the things, and then, yeah, they're just getting my leftovers, and so then I had to work through like, okay, how could I figure this out? What could I be doing so that I feel like there's some sense of I don't suck as a mom, like I'm winning in some shape or form.
Yes.
And so I remember it was bringing in help on Mondays. I had someone come and help me, and I would pay her for, I think it was 4 hours. She'd go grocery shopping for me, chop up things, get a meal started, wipe down the bathroom so that when I came home on a Monday after work, we sat down and ate together. But it was like, is it more important to me that I made the meal or that we're
Right.
actually sitting down as a family unit to eat the meal together? That was one of like those aha moments for me was, okay, this is something that will help me feel like I'm setting us up for success one week, one day, 1 hour at a time. So,
I love that. It's so crazy because it's those little things, right? So for me, it was hiring a teenager and we called her Laundry Girl. And she
yeah.
came in a couple days a week, did all the laundry, put it away, and I felt like I'm winning. Like it's those little wins. And I
Yeah,
felt like it just gave me oxygen, right? To make it through.
absolutely. Yeah, because I think that's it. It's like when you're already drained and you're drained physically, emotionally, spiritually, like in every way, just that little bit of something, it was like, okay, you know what? It's all right. I can do this. We'll figure this out. So
Yeah.
I think help along the way is so critical. And she, would pick up the kids or drop them off at times when I need, like, because there was just no physical way I was going to try to manage all of that and all the counseling appointments and like all the school events and activities and everything else.
Well, one thing that I wish I would have known about before, which we learned about towards the end of our journey, was care.com. Like, you can go to care.com and you can hire somebody who's background checked, right? You can look for
Yeah.
all the specifics of what you need as a foster parent or an adoptive parent. You can look for CPR, you can look for laundry help, you can look for cooking help. And even if it's just a few hours a week, it just gives you like help
Yeah.
and helps you feel like you're doing it. And especially as a single mom, I can't imagine. So fast forward, let's go fast forward, look back. Where are you at now? Like, what does your life look like? How old's your child? Like, tell us all the things.
Yeah, absolutely. So today I'm 45. My kids are 20, 24, and 27. And we've gone through it. There were there was a season where we were not in communication with Trisha, and that was really difficult to just not know where she was or who she was with or what was happening. And it was actually when my son got married that he reached out and invited her to the wedding, and she came, and we were able to reconnect and reconcile. And it's been a bumpy road. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything,
Right.
but I'm grateful that we're able to be connected now. And I'm a singer. I love, I did kids worship and worship of all different kinds. And so fast forward, she now has two children. I'm a grandma to two, and they were with us last weekend. And the oldest was marching around and singing "I'm in the Lord's army," and we were dancing and so looking back now, music is something that we had in common with everyone. Like, we're kind of a musical
Yeah.
bunch. And so I've sang over every one of my children. I've prayed over them, but I've sang over them and just planted seeds believing that, they're covered by the blood of Jesus and that he is working in miraculous ways in each of their lives. And sometimes it doesn't look like I think it should, or like I thought it was going to, or whatever, but that they belong to him before they belong to me. And
Yeah.
I've got to keep that in perspective. And so I'm a new empty nester, so it's a whole different season now of connecting, whether it's through Instagram, TikTok, texts, or FaceTiming. Like, the
Right.
communication is different, and it's given me time. I'm obviously very passionate. I don't really sit still for long, so I've written a book. I'm teaching classes, and obviously, still involved in real estate and helping moms specifically. So,
I love that. And what's all I keep thinking of is redemption.
mm,
Like, I mean, God is just redeeming the time.
mm,
And I think that's the hard part. I mean, not only were you a single mom and adoptive, you are adopted as well yourself, but the reconciliation with your daughter. And I think that was probably the hardest thing for me as an adoptive parent is that it isn't what I thought. It doesn't look how I thought it would. But as but I think that's the thing is like being open to whatever God has planned versus what I thought.
well, isn't it? I mean, with your bio kids, like, I just remember thinking I was upset, kind of angry, mad at different girlfriends of mine that I'm like, you should have told me. Like, and yet when you're pregnant and, oh, I feel so alive and, the most beautiful I've ever felt, and I'm glowing even though my ankles are cankles and swelling and whatever, and the baby comes, and then you're just like, what in the world, right? Like, it's no different than whether you birthed them or, you were given them.
Right.
We kind of have this, like, expectation or this la la land, dream of how it's gonna be. And I just wish there would have been this. I wish there would have been more women being honest about what mothering really is like. And and so when I heard what you were doing, I was like, okay, I can get behind this. We've got to be friends.
Yes. Well, and it's crazy because even like so my oldest son, he is gosh, 22, almost 23 now, and he's married, and we are not politically aligned. And so it's like these things that you're like not prepared for. And like it's always, okay, how do we navigate? It's every new life stage of how do you navigate this?
Yeah, and, it's interesting that you said that because my oldest is married as well, and I thought, the leave and cleave, I wanted to make sure I gave them space and
Yes.
time, and I actually got feedback that I'd given too much, and it was like, "No, you could actually," and I was like, "Oh, okay, thank you for the feedback, I had no idea, and that was not my intention at all," and so how to navigate this season of they're they're grown adults. They're making these life decisions now. How do you know? And this was something that a mentor said, and I just thought it was so good. people say, well, what is it that you're after? What is it that you want? How will you know that you've won as a parent? Well, I just want to be a good parent. Okay, well, what would that look like? And it was defined as when my kids need advice, they'll call and bounce things off of me. And for each of them in different ways, whether it was really difficult
Right.
and the
Yes.
lowest of low moments,
Yes.
and then some of the highest of highs, I've gotten that call and I'll do everything I can to take that call and to be available. Cause then it's like, okay, may not look like I thought it would, may not be exactly kind of what I would describe as, ideal, but they're reaching out. And so those moments mean everything to me as a parent now.
Or they need their mom. Yeah. Yeah, my son texted me the other day and he was like, Mom, I caught a mouse. And I was like, I'm so glad. He's like, you know what I mean? It's the little things. And he was like, I sealed up the hole. And I'm like, that's cool. I don't know how you learned how to do that, but I'm sure you learned from
Exactly.
my husband. Like, that's amazing. But it's just those moments that it's like, we just want to be a part of their life. Just want to, even though I'm not even, they live far away now, but just the moments that, yeah, they just reach out and connect and they didn't need to. There was no reason I needed to know he found a mouse.
Right. No, exactly. And I mean, that's it too. Like him and his wife, they bought a duplex. They live on one side and they rent out
Yeah.
the other. And I
Yeah.
remember visiting for the first time and I started bawling and I was like, I'm so proud of you. And he looked at me kind of nonchalant. He goes, Mom, it's real estate. It's just what we do. And I was like, no, kid, you make it sound so easy. But that's it. The kids are watching you.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
watching you and you're planting seeds without even realizing it sometimes,
100%. So let me ask you this. What is the biggest piece of advice that you would give to a foster mom who is just like in the thick of it?
Do not go at this alone. Keep asking to make new friends with people that are a few steps ahead of you. Do not think for 1 second that you're the only one struggling or having issues and regretting and wondering if you missed the mark or if you did the right thing or that just some ugly thoughts come out and you're like, "Oh, this is horrible for me to even think about." No, like you've got to connect and get into community with moms that are a few steps ahead of you that can say it's completely normal to feel that way and validate where you're at and how you're feeling and then maybe give some different suggestions, but do not do this alone.
Love that. And you bring up there's some pretty dark thoughts that I've thought throughout my journey. And I feel like those are not talked about. And so if you're in a rough place, just know somebody's felt the same thing before. Just know that it's normal. And I think that's the piece is I just didn't have anybody around me saying, yeah, I've thought that. I felt like even if I verbalized it, I'm like a worse mom than I already felt like.
Yeah. And, for me, I had to work. And many of the friends were blessed to stay at home. So,
Right.
like, they'd gone through these traumatic things of adopting or fostering or whatever, but most of them I couldn't relate to on some level because I was having to, I had daycare, I had babysitters, I had to get them to school, and then I had to go work, and then I had another job, and I was spinning all the things.
Y-
And so I think that that's just so critical that you're specific in seeking out someone that you can relate to and that's going to keep it real because it's dark and you think you're the only one feeling that way or thinking that way and it's just simply not true.
Absolutely. Really quickly, because I feel like through our darkest times is when we're built. And it's really inspiring to watch what you have built. And so I would love for you to touch on you're an author, you just published a book. So I would be remiss if we didn't touch on this because this is so cool. And that's where it's inspiring for other moms to see that, we both have gone through really hard times and we've come out on the other side. And you will too. So talk to us about your book. I can't wait. I want to hear all the things.
Absolutely. Well, the way I describe it is that I am a recovering hot mess, right? That just because you can doesn't mean you should wing it through every aspect of your life. Don't you remember being younger and almost kind of like boasting, like, oh, I thrive under pressure. I remember saying that in different job interviews. Like,
Yes.
oh my word. Well, as you get older, like you don't want constant upset and you don't just because you can doesn't mean you should. So the title of the book is called Stop Winging It. Don't accept your life, lead it. And it comes from a place of real honesty, of just some tangible tactics that I've used in my life with my prayer board and just daily prayers and affirmations, the people that I've surrounded myself with, the community of moms in real estate that we've created. And, going through the divorce, going through the loss of my dad, the adoption of Trisha, like there were all these things. And I just remember just that lie of the enemy, like you're going to struggle from now until forever. Single moms struggle. And through a process of conversations, I decided that wasn't going to be my story. It was going to be the greatest reset of my life. And I was just going to give it to the Lord and say, reinvent me now, rewrite this. Like I surrender it all to you. And so through that, we started the Millionaire Real Estate Moms Community, which is a free Facebook group that everyone's welcome to join if you want to get into real estate or invest in real estate, or you're just wanting to be around other moms, you're welcome to join us. And I wasn't, let's be clear. When I started the group and created it and trademarked Millionaire Real Estate Mom, I was not one. I just set out to find and interview and connect with them to figure out how they were doing it. How did they have multiple income streams and how were they leveraging their lives at home and at work, and how are they doing it all? Because I was exhausted and overwhelmed. And so through all of that, Stop Winging It came about. Just these are the ways in which I believe we need to live the life we were called to live, not just accept what's given to us as, what we need to settle for.
I love that because I feel like this book is for everyone. And so if you're a foster mom, adoptive mom, thinking about it, go grab this book. Is it available on Amazon or where can they grab it?
Yes.
I know we're going to put your links in the show notes.
Yes, definitely. I'll share the links. It's available on Amazon. We've got a free book club as well if they want to join us. So would love to have anyone interested join us for sure.
I'm so excited. I love that. It's the beauty from the ashes, right? Definitely. This is the redemption story. Thank you so much for being on here today. I absolutely love connecting with you. I'm so thankful God connected us, and we will talk soon.
Sounds great. Thanks so much.
Hey friend, I hope that you loved today's episode. I pray it blessed you and helped you see that you have a friend in your corner who truly understands what you're walking through. If so, would you share this episode with someone who's been praying for a breakthrough in their own journey? It would also bless me big time and help others to find this podcast if you would leave a review on Apple Podcasts. You can also submit your questions, topics that you would like covered, and find a community of like-minded mamas in my private Facebook group by searching What to Expect While Fostering and Adopting on Facebook. See you next time.